and can be a genuinely useful bird. Although, the same can't be said for the other bird swapper, Hoot. As previously mentioned, it was also released at the launch of the game. It was also given a variant being Enchanted Hoot during Wave 1. As you can see, it's more of a white and black version of the character, but if you put him out in the sun, he'll actually get a fade of blue. In fact, if he plays this variant in-game, he switches between being white and blue during the duration of playing. Very magical if I do have to say. In fact, he was able to learn a lot of his magic-related skills due to him being raised by a bunch of magicians in Skyland's famous circus. Quote, at a young age, he perfected illusions and spells that only the very best of their guild could perform, and even mastered the art of teleportation. And during his time at the circus, he would be the star of the show. But one day, the circus would be attacked by a lot of greebles. However, Hoot was able to take them all down, which impressed the audience as well as Eon. So moving forward, he would become a Skylander. And although we don't see Hoot in the beginning of Swap Force, considering the fact that he's a magician, it's not too much of a stretch to believe that it's possible this was how he became a swapper. Like he might have just ripped himself in half or something, I don't know. Starting with his top half, the first attack named Deja Boom, Hoot shoots through his wand, which is a tiny beam that once it hits an enemy, it deals okay damage, then goes over to a different enemy, but does significantly less than the original hit. It's just okay, especially compared to his third attack, which is conveniently the first upgrade, named Hypnotism. By holding the third attack button, Hoot will start shooting hypnotizing waves through his eyes, as enemies caught in the waves will be damaged and slow down. The damage is fine, as it can hit an enemy multiple times, but the slowdown itself only lasts a small amount of time. I'm not saying that it has to last forever or longer, but there's no real point to use the attack. The first attack is okay, but that means it needs a just as, if not better, third attack to balance it out. But the third attack is arguably worse. The next upgrade is Trictia, and there's a good reason, as instead of actually helping you fight better by, upgrading Hoot's bad attacks, it gives better armor, which reduces the amount of damage that Hoot takes. You're hilarious. You're really fucking hilarious. Next up is Flashback. Now with the first attack, the small beam will bounce off enemies 3 times, with the last hit causing a small explosion, which sounds good, but remember, the bounces still cause less damage, but the explosion is the most disappointing, as it causes even less damage, making it pretty much pointless. Now let's get to Hoot's top half paths, as the top half is named Dreamweaver, giving a new way to play with the wand, as the first upgrade is named the Dream Beam. By holding the first attack button, a long string of beam will shoot at the wand. The beam actually has some good distance, and causes good damage, as it constantly damages enemies caught in the beam, and Bad Dream's beam gives the beam more damage. The attack itself can be compared to Double Trouble's first attack, which is a beam shooting out of a staff, but there's one major difference. While Double Trouble's staff beam stays locked onto an enemy, even if Double Trouble moves in every direction, Hoot's wand beam will shoot in the direction he's facing. This is a matter of personal preference, but I think Hoot's staff beam is worse. Double Trouble's attack always felt very fluid and incredibly easy to control, while with Hoot, you constantly have to face different directions to actually hit an enemy. Again though, that's just what I think. It's still very good, and honestly it's probably his best attack, but it still has its problems. But let's take a look at his bottom path, named Hypno Owl, which gives upgrades to the Hypnotism attack. With the first upgrade named Mass Hypnosis, it gives the third attack a much larger area to hit enemies, as the next upgrade, Deep Asleep, can help with this, as it gives more damage to the third attack. Now these are good upgrades to the third attack, but like I said, I never really found it very useful. Even then, the top half still provides a really good attack, so I'd say go for that one instead. Now there's Hoot's Soul Gem, named Wand of Dreams. When shooting with the wand, along with the main shot, 2 smaller shots will shoot as well, but as expected, the small shots will cause less damage than the main shot. Yeah, everything about the top half just kinda sucks. But of course, let's not forget his bottom half, which gives us his second attack, named Loop the Loop, being your typical teleporting attack, which throws enemies in the air and causes good damage. It's not terrible, and maybe it's better than Sunburn's teleport, but it's nothing really special, as the other upgrades do help out, I guess. As the first upgrade named Teleportable Hole, before you had to be facing the direction you wanted to teleport to. But with this upgrade, by holding the second attack button, you can control exactly where you want to go. Temporal Whack gives more damage to the teleport, as for Time Sink, wherever the teleportable hole is, enemies will be pulled in. I feel like it could be useful given the circumstances, but I just never really found a place where I'd need to do this, or even want to. Now let's go over Hoot's bottom half paths. The top half is named Telekinesis, focusing around giving better damage to the teleporting ring. The first upgrade named Now You See Me, as previously mentioned, when teleporting, the ring you teleport to will cause damage to enemies who are nearby, but depending on how long you hold the second attack button for, it will cause more damage, as complete concentration will give it more damage. Now of course, it has the caveat of making you stand still, but regardless, I like it for what it is. But then there's the bottom path, named Escape Artist, that helps to teleport specifically, as the first upgrade is named Now You Don't. Oh. After teleporting, press the jump button to appear back at the original place you teleported from, with teleport turbulence giving a damage increase for all the teleporting attacks. Honestly, it's kind of tough for me to say which path is better. They both have benefits, like giving tons of damage or new way to play, but they also have their downsides, as it makes you vulnerable or is just kind of boring. Now for the soul gem, named Infinite Loop. Hold the second attack button so you can aim the ring, and place the ring under Hoot Loop, and let go of the button, as multiple rings will show up and explode in a rapid fashion, giving a pretty good amount of damage. It's probably the best use of the bottom half, as I genuinely like how quickly the attack can be used. Hoot Loop's bottom half can also be used to enter the teleporting swap zone. You move around in a large area by teleporting, collecting a certain amount of magic ruins. And lastly, as a small side note, the image for when you're using the normal version of Hoot Loop in Imaginators is its enchanted version. It's pretty obvious that this wasn't intended, and it's clearly some kind of mistake, and even then it's something that's not exclusive to just him, but it's interesting nonetheless. Overall, as much as I like Hoot Loop as a character and his design, I have to be honest, Hoot Loop might just be the worst bird Skylander. Now look, as we'll go over later, technically the bird villains are worse, playability wise, but at least with them they can be cute or interesting. With Hoot Loop, however, the only thing that makes him interesting is that he's one of the only bird swappers, and since there's only 16 or 17 of them, I guess, that is kinda cool, but his attacks just don't offer anything useful. Aside from a few attacks, it always feels like you're not dealing any damage. Many, if not all of his attacks can be replicated by other better characters, and on top of that, he's not the only teleporting swapper. That in itself is not a problem, but it's who the other swapper is. Night Shift. You know, the swapper where his bottom half is considered one of, if not the best of all the swappers. Literally the only reason you'd want Hoot Loop is when Swap Force was released and he was the only teleporting swapper. But we're forgetting one thing. Since Hoot Loop, alongside Free Ranger, are both swappers, you can simply just swap them between each other or with other swappers, with there being a total of 31 different combinations for each bird for all of the top and bottom halves, or 33 if you're including template, meaning you could give them the best, or just make Hoot Loop even worse. It's such a shame too, as he's pretty easy to get, as both his figures are priced around $8 or $9 each. Look, I know I've been overly critical of Hoot Loop, and I genuinely don't want to. I remember him being one of my first swappers, and prior to me playing as him again, I genuinely don't remember Hoot Loop being this bad, but after looking at him, for his designs, attacks, his backstory, and in general how much I actually like playing as him, there's simply characters that do everything better. Even judging him on his own, he's just a bad character. I know critically speaking there might be other characters that are worse, but in my opinion, Hoot Loop is the worst bird in Skylanders.